December 21st, 1945, Tokyo, Japan. General Douglas MacArthur sat in his office in the Daiichi Life Insurance Building, the headquarters from which he ruled occupied Japan, when an aide brought him an urgent telegram from Europe. MacArthur read it quickly, and for a brief moment his normally inscrutable expression revealed something. Surprise, perhaps sadness. He set the telegram down on his desk. General George S. Patton, Jr. was dead. Patton had died that morning in a military hospital in Heidelberg, Germany, 12 days after a car accident that broke his neck and left him paralyzed. He was 60 years old. He had survived 2 world wars, commanded armies in North Africa, Sicily, France, and Germany, and fought in countless battles, becoming one of the most famous generals in American history. Yet he had not been killed in combat, but by injuries from a minor car accident on a quiet country road. According to staff officers present, MacArthur sat silently for several moments after reading the news, then began drafting a statement. What he said next, and how he chose to memorialize Patton, revealed not only his view of Patton, but his deeper understanding of military greatness. Although MacArthur and Patton were not close friends and served in different theaters during World War II, MacArthur in the Pacific, Patton in Europe, they shared parallel careers, similar backgrounds, and a mutual recognition of boldness and aggressive command. Born 5 years apart into military families, both attended West Point, served in France during World War I, and crossed paths occasionally in the interwar years, most notably during the controversial Bonus Army incident of 1932, when Patton served under MacArthur's command. During World War II, they had little direct contact, yet both became larger-than-life figures, MacArthur with his pipe and sunglasses, Patton with his ivory-handled pistols and fiery speeches, admired for brilliance and criticized for controversy. By late 1945, MacArthur governed occupied Japan while Patton, recently demoted after controversial political remarks, commanded the largely administrative 15th Army in Germany and was planning to retire. Then, on December 9, 1945, Patton's car collided at low speed with an army truck, leaving him paralyzed and conscious for 12 days before he died from complications. When news of Patton's death reached Tokyo, MacArthur read the telegram in silence, asked to be left alone, and then dictated a statement preserved in military archives, beginning with the words, "The death of General Patton is a great loss to the Army and to the nation." He was one of the most brilliant soldiers America ever produced, a commander whose daring and resourcefulness were matched by exceptional tactical skill and strategic vision, a great captain destined to stand in history among the finest field commanders of all time. MacArthur's official statement was formal and measured, typical of military tributes, yet account from those present suggests his thoughts on Patton ran deeper before he settled on those words. According to Colonel Sidney Huff, MacArthur described Patton as a warrior in the truest sense, a man born for war who struggled in peacetime, a view MacArthur himself understood well, having thrived in war and found peace frustrating. While MacArthur's statement was sent to Washington and released alongside tributes from Eisenhower, Marshall, and President Truman, each praising Patton's boldness, combat leadership, and service, MacArthur's private reflections went further. Biographer William Manchester records that MacArthur admired Patton as a kindred spirit, another general who believed war demanded aggressive leadership and a willingness to take risks, even as both men were controversial figures who clashed with civilian authority and superiors. MacArthur rarely gave unqualified praise to other generals, making his words about Patton especially meaningful and indicative of genuine respect. In the days that followed, MacArthur was reportedly troubled that Patton had died not in battle but in a car accident, believing it tragic that a warrior of his stature did not fall in combat, reflecting the romantic view of warfare they both shared. MacArthur did not attend Patton's funeral in Luxembourg, remaining in Tokyo due to his responsibilities as Supreme Commander, nor did he send a personal tribute beyond his official statement. In later years, MacArthur continued to speak respectfully of Patton, and in his 1964 memoir Reminiscences he wrote that George Patton was one of the great captains of war whose tactical brilliance and aggressive leadership contributed immeasurably to Allied victory in Europe. The historical record shows that while the two men were never close friends, they recognized in each other the same boldness, aggression, leadership under fire, and belief that true soldiers belonged on the battlefield. Thus, MacArthur's public words were formal and restrained, but his private remarks reveal that he saw Patton's death as a passing of a warrior and the end of an era. MacArthur himself would later face challenges strikingly similar to Patton's, as he too was a combat leader who clashed with civilian authority and was ultimately removed from command, fired by President Truman in 1951 for insubordination during the Korean War. Perhaps in Patton's fate, MacArthur saw a preview of his own, for both men were warriors who never fully fit into peacetime military life, brilliant in battle, controversial in conduct, and difficult to manage once the fighting stopped. What MacArthur said when Patton died was formal, measured, and appropriate, yet what he may have thought, that he and Patton were kindred spirits, born for combat and ill at ease in peace, largely went unspoken. The historical record preserves only his official statement and a handful of reported private remarks, revealing respect and recognition of Patton's achievements while leaving MacArthur's deeper feelings undocumented. What is clear is that MacArthur called Patton one of the most brilliant soldiers America had ever produced and a great captain destined to stand among the finest field commanders of all time, praise that carried exceptional weight from a man not known for generosity toward his peers. In those words, MacArthur placed Patton in the highest ranks of American military leadership, not merely in his own judgment, but in the verdict of history itself, and perhaps that was what mattered most to both men, not their personal relationship, but their legacy as warriors and commanders. MacArthur's tribute affirmed that Patton had achieved the greatness they both sought, securing a place in the pantheon of military history, and in doing so, granted him the immortality that both generals so deeply desired. This account is based on documented historical records, including MacArthur's official statement preserved in military archives and newspapers, staff officers' recollections, memoirs, and contemporary news reports, and is presented for educational purposes, recognizing that historical interpretations may vary.